Woohoo! All right.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. Hi. So for the first 5 minutes, I'm gonna play some music. I don't know if you can hear it. Hopefully. Welcome. If you are just trickling in, let's use the chat and let me know where you're calling from. We have so many members all over the world. I would love to hear where you're from. Lakewood, what's up? I grew up in Golden. Missouri. That's where my boyfriend's from. How hot is it in Arizona right now? I'm scared to ask. Woohoo! Oh, I'm going to South Carolina at the end of August. I'm so excited. Virginia, Alabama. Woohoo, Seattle. Oh God, 93. Can you hear the music at all? It's very faint.
Yeah, it's pretty faint, but I can hear it
just a little
bit. Yeah.
Awesome. If you're coming in, just drop in the chat where you're from. Just give it one more minute. I'm so excited to see you all here. Thank you so much for showing up. Florida, right on. All right. Pause this. Thank you all so much for coming. I just wanted to, let me pull up my notes real quick. Okay, sweet. Thank you so much for coming. Let me admit people to the room too. Cool. So my name is Paige Mitchell. I'm a career fulfillment coach, and I help women who feel stuck in their jobs and find fulfilling careers that really aligns with their values. I really challenge my clients to focus on what matters most in their work. And since this whole workshop is about burnout in your work and also academics, I want you to think, what is it that about my burnout that is making an impact in my life? Because the burnout that you feel either in school or your job, it is bleeding into the other areas of your life. And throughout this workshop, we're really going to have some more awareness on what else is showing up for me. So I really love coaching. It's fulfilling to me. I love making new connections, meeting all of you. The self-care space is such a cool platform. And it just truly lights me up. So I'm just so grateful to be here. I wanted to give just a quick background on my story and my journey. So my background in education is in the clinical mental health field. I knew at age 17, I wanted to be in psychology. And I got my bachelor's degree. I double minored in communications and sociology, and I have my master's in counseling. So when I was in school, not only was the burnout hella real, but I was also working full time too, right? So I had those two main components, felt like two dragons were breathing down my neck. And I worked at an eating disorder hospital for years. I also worked at an outpatient clinic focusing on substance abuse. So I've definitely been in the mental health space for about 10 years. And then there was a pivot for me. I was so burnt out and I was so depressed. I cried on the way to work. I cried during work. I cried after work. I cried when I was coming back home from school. All of that. I would just cry all the time because I felt like I didn't have a choice. It felt like, well, Paige, you committed to all of this. Like you have to just keep plowing through. And I don't know if any of you experienced that of just like, I have to just keep going, screw my burnout. Like I'll figure it out later. Like I have to just keep moving. Well, this workshop, we're going to totally interrupt that. Um, I wanted to address my mental health because my mental health is first, right? And I was really just sick of this shit. So I had to take a good look in the mirror and I asked myself one question, which I encourage you all to write down, get a little sticky note or something and say, is this career path sustainable? Whether that's with maybe your schoolwork is, you know, a component of your career, just ask, is what I'm doing right now sustainable for the long term? Yay, Sabrina. We all need this. Amen, sister. And feel free, those that are trickling in, please write in the comments. So, is what you're doing right now sustainable? Is the current career path or academic journey you're on sustainable for you? Can you keep this up? And, you know, there's, at least for me, when I was at a job, there was no amount of PTOs, vacations, breaks that would make it better. It just didn't matter. You would say, oh yeah, I just need like 2 weeks and to go on vacation, then it'll be okay. No, it's never okay, right? Like you're going to come back to the same crap. So real quick, I'm also really passionate. I'm a dancer. Like I love teaching hip hop. And like I said, I love really connecting with people. And I wanted to share that with you because I just wanted to share that I am a concrete example of someone who was burnt out and now I'm feeling fulfilled. It took some time. Yeah. And it took some self-reflection and I hired professionals along the way. Yay, dance. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I showed the fuck up, you know, and that's what you all are doing right now. You are showing up to this workshop because some part of you, some voice was saying, enough is enough. Screw this. I'm burnt out. What can I learn today? So, if I guess one thing I want to put in the chat, if you all could, is, why are you here? Right? Like, what are you struggling with? You know, when you saw this workshop, what resonated with you? And yeah, just throw it at me first. I want to hear some feedback on like, why are you here? What are you struggling with? So for those that are trickling in, write in the comments, like, why are you here? What was the purpose of joining this workshop? What resonated with you in the content that I created or the description of the workshop? Gloria says, I struggle with burnout exactly every 3 to 4 years with what I'm doing at the time. Okay. I have so many goals. Chat. I have so many goals, but I feel so unmotivated to work towards them. Burnout because I know I need to align my purpose with my career. I'm not sure where to focus all my energy, my creative energy. Lost in a career path that isn't fulfilling me. Yep. Well, you all came to the right place. I totally hear you. I'm here because I have, oh my gosh, this thing is so fast. I'm going to make this chat box bigger. There we go. I'm here because I have 2 jobs. I love the dance job, but American Eagle is pushing me over the edge. I get extremely anxious. I feel like managers are constantly mad at me and I'm not good enough. I was promoted and still going to school full time, planning a wedding, maintaining a personal life, all on the verge of failing a class next week. Woof. This is so helpful, everyone. Like, I want you all to, you know, for those live in this workshop to like also drop some love too throughout, right? Like I'm sure when you read someone's comment that if we could treat this kind of like a group session of we're all here, we're all showing up and we're all being vulnerable, like give some people some props. Like, yeah, like I experienced that too. And like, We need some girl power up in here. I own my own business and have really been feeling overwhelmed since COVID. Yep. Trying to think about how I can refocus. Cool. Okay. So the purpose of this workshop is to increase your self-awareness and really connect with your values and what's important to you. And the number one thing too is just to be honest with yourself. Can you truly show up? And throughout this workshop, we're going to talk about the top signs of burnout, right? So that you can really address what's going on at school, what's going on at work. And we're going to learn some action steps along the way, right? But before we officially start, just some more housekeeping. If you do want to show your face on camera, it's okay if you don't, but if you do, would love to see your beautiful face. Note taking. So I highly encourage you have a journal or a notebook accessible, or even creating like a Google Doc, if you will. And if you're watching the recording, pause, take a minute, make sure you have a pen and paper. Let's see. Perfect. So I'm going to ask you questions and prompts just throughout the workshop. So think of this as like a group therapy session where we're all kind of like talking with each other / I'm kind of just giving you some questions to consider and think about. So when you walk away, you will have your notes and you're going to prioritize what you feel you need to do for you. So I just want to, let's see here. Let me make sure the chat box is still there. And all right, perfect. So if you all have your journal or your Google Doc or whatever, I want you to write at the top of it, I am a badass, or I'm confident AF. I'm a boss bitch. Whatever, use your own language, but the reason why you're going to write that at the very top is because all of the things I were talking about is burnout, right? Like the majority of this is going to be kind of depressing and painful, right? So let's remember at the top of the page why we're doing this in the first place. Oh yeah, because I believe in myself, because I'm awesome, because I value myself, because I am worthy. Whatever you need to do to put that at the top of the paper. Okay. So a last thing too, if you have not done so already, if you didn't watch it or attend the workshop, please go back and watch Val's workshops from July 7 and August 4th. Those videos were really great at starting the self-awareness process and learning cognitive disorders, because we're all guilty of it. And it was just a really great explanation of thinking errors that I think will help you with your burnout journey. The way that she and the participants kind of talked about their problems that come up, I just think it's really beneficial for you to check out those two workshops. Okay, so like I said, the workshop is overcoming your burnout with work and school. In the last 10 minutes, I'm going to have a Q&A. I can hang out for a little bit after too, if there's more lingering questions, but that's just the structure. If there's no other questions, I love that. Cynthia, I relate. Yeah, if y'all can just keep writing, like, I relate, you got this, this is how I'm feeling, like, keep it coming as I'm talking. So first things first, burnout. Burnout 101, how do we even know we have it? So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. And it's caused by excessive and prolonged stress, right? It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, you're emotionally drained, you're unable to meet constant demands, right? So I think burnout is a spectrum. And depending on where you're at in your life and experiencing just whatever's going on in your external environment, the level of emotional, physical, and mental overwhelm is going to vary. So if things are like, if your friendships are shitty, your marriage sucks, your job sucks, like if there's a lot of things right now that just feel super overwhelming, then yeah, your burnout is going to be on that other end of the spectrum of like 10 out of 10, I'm in crisis. versus maybe there's just a couple things going on in your life that maybe you're at like a 5 or 6. So I also want you to keep in mind too, as I'm talking, if you were to rate from 1 to 10, 10 out of 10 being like, I'm going to pull my hair out, I can't handle this anymore, to like, I mean, things aren't great, but I'm okay, right? Like I would ask you maybe write that down from 1 to 10, where do you think your burnout would be? And drop in the comments too. I want to see some numbers. Five, 8, 6 to 7. All right. Cool. Yeah, 10 right now. Hear you. Yes. And I mean, everyone's going to have a different number, right? And that's their number is going to be dependent on them. I would say a 7. I can keep doing what I'm doing, but it's taking a toll physically. Totally. So yeah, like I said, it's physical, emotional, mental. There's so many different components, right? Let's see. Let's talk real quick about overwhelm, which is like, I get asked all the time, like, wait, am I overwhelmed? Am I burnout? What's the difference? Is it the same? So in my personal opinion, it is a little bit different. When you're feeling overwhelmed, like that's like constant interruptions that just really make it hard to complete your responsibilities, right? Maybe you react, you're irritated, or you withdraw from other people, or you have angry outbursts, depending on your personality and your coping skills. Burnout and your overwhelm may look different. It may look the same. So, however, if you're burnt out, the main difference is when you're burnt out, you are too emotionally exhausted to react, right? You're basically just like, well, I'm just this dried up well, and I have nothing to give myself. And oh, you want something? That's too bad. I'm not going to give it to you, right? Burnout is just this complete like, no, can't compute. So the first step is to just notice your burnout. Have this self-awareness muscle that we're going to keep building. So something like 1 to 10 might be helpful. Maybe every morning, what you could do if you're noticing that burnout is becoming a trend, maybe from every morning 1 to 10, just like jot it down, put it on a sticky note or something of like, how do I feel this morning? Maybe at the beginning of the day, you're a 4, and then by the end of the evening, you're a 9, right? It's important to be a scientist as we're tackling this and seeing like, let me just see some data, because some days may be worse than others. Some days I might have a higher burnout level than others. So my burnout motto is I've reached my capacity. Love that, Gloria. Yes, done. So yeah, like I was saying, we're being a scientist. We're just tracking a little bit. Try for 2 weeks straight on a scale from 1 to 10. You could do it twice a day or once a day. Just start writing down your numbers and see if stuff is more consistent. Maybe if you work out one day versus not, like maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, right? So let's just be a scientist and make sure to journal that, like what would work for you to track, whether that's literally on a sticky note every single day or making a spreadsheet, whatever that is. So I encourage you to make some type of tracking journal. Okay. So let's get into the down and dirty and talk about symptoms of burnout. So when you're at school, right, what is your physical, emotional, and mental reactions with overwhelm or burnout? Let's really dig into the symptoms. And symptoms is just the pain. This is the physical things that we bitch about to our friends, to our colleagues of, I feel this happens, right? Like, let's talk about that. I'll give you some examples. Like you're dreading going to work, you hit the snooze button, you lash out at your colleagues. Let me hear them. Let's hear some symptoms, people. This is the easy part, right? Because we're always able to, not always, but it's easy to label what's going wrong with us versus what we want. So let's just trash for a minute. Sleeping through all the alarms, short fuse. I'm guilty of laying in bed too long after my alarm because I'm not mentally ready to face the day, thinking everything the client says is stupid. Oh my God, yes. When I was a therapist, that happened all the time, which was not great for me or my clients. I get mad at my fiance after feeling burnout. Yup. Being annoyed when anyone asks me to do something to benefit them. Zombie out because I can't focus. Not eating because I'm too busy and overwhelmed. Yes, yes. I bring home a lot of negativity and dump it all on my fiance. I work with kids so often. I take out my frustrations on them. Yeah. Starting petty fights, snappy. Oof. Yes. Going back to cry or catch my breath. Yes. Perf. Okay. Whoo. That's heavy. Okay. Like, first off, lack of focus, not eating. Yep. First of all, like, let's acknowledge that all of these symptoms are completely valid, right? When I was reading about there's like guilt or shame for this is how I'm actually reacting to all of this. Like, let's just take a moment and be like, all of this is normal in a way of like, we're all universally experiencing something that's just not great. Okay. So I just want to validate all the things that y'all are saying. And if you can chat also in the comment, like, yes, I resonate. We can't like heart the chat comments, but basically like do that for your peers, right? We're all in this together and it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But the first thing is we're putting it out on paper. And as you wrote in the comments or the chat too, write it in your journal right now. What are the top 5 symptoms, pain points, reactions of your burnout? Maybe there's a priority, right? Like maybe crying, 4 days out of the week, write that on there, right? Like you can rank if you want. Usually when I'm burnt out, this happens, but make that a priority that you for yourself identify what your burnout looks like, because it all looks a little different depending on the person, but we're still experiencing the same shit. Let's see here. Yeah. And then sometimes when we're writing in the chat too of, oh God, I like forgot that's what I do too when you're burnt out. Like this can also help like trigger up some of the things that we sometimes take for granted. So after you wrote your top 3, your top 5 symptoms in your journal, that either this happens at school or because of work, right? I think sometimes we let burnout, if burnout was a person, we let burnout kind of like take over ourselves because we're so stressed and tired. We just feel like giving up. And how many mugs are out there that says, I hate Mondays? How many memes are out there that I hate my job? And although we can all like laugh and like poke fun at it, there's still something not right with that. So I just kind of want to acknowledge that, yes, like I want to normalize what we all are experiencing here is for real and it's not okay. But I just want to acknowledge like it doesn't have to be the norm. You don't have to own a mug that says, I hate Mondays. I mean, if you do, personal preference, go for it. But just know you are capable of not letting burnout control all of your life's decisions anymore. Sometimes we're downplaying our emotions of like feeling stuck, and we're all saying like, oh, this is normal, like of course I hate my job, or of course like school sucks, right? And that's like negotiating with yourself of being unhappy for 5 days a week, right? And is that what you really signed up for, is to be unhappy? Right? So instead of like, I must be tired, or I'm just having a bad week, that could go on for weeks, months, years. That could become like your motto. Has anyone like experienced that, where the whole like being burnout has become like your identity? I'd love to hear some feedback on that. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can. %. Yes, it's been over a year for me. Yeah, anyone else? Feel free to unmute yourself too, if you feel like it's become part of your identity. Put that in your journal too. Has burnout become so normal that I don't know any other way? Yes, for the past few months. Hating my job bleeds into every aspect of my life. It's been one of those days. 4 months. Yep. Now, I do want to acknowledge that we can systemically, right? There's only so much we can do to change that. Like the school, like if you're at an institute, if you're at a university that just has a terrible culture, there's a lot like in the education world, which I'm not that familiar with it. And if there's any like professors or anything on here, feel free to speak up. But of course, like institution wise and systemically, like there are things that just exist. So we have to work around that. But I want you to leave feeling empowered that there are things I can change. I can change how I feel. I can change how I react. I can change my narrative. I can't control or change other people, but I can choose my circle. I could choose my community. I can make choices for my future self, right? So are you stuck at a job, or are you stuck at school, or is it temporary? Really pay attention to your language about being stuck or feeling lost. I also just wanted to ask too, like, not only like how long have you been feeling stuck, burnout, but like how long, if you had a choice, which you do, how long do you want to stick this out? And being really honest with yourself, like if you could journal, how long have I been burnt out? And what is to the extent that enough is enough, right? If you're in school, which is hard because you might be in like a 4-year locked program, well, after the 4 years, like what is the next step? If you are feeling stuck in a job, can you set a timeline for yourself? Like if things don't change with XYZ, then I'm going to find another opportunity by this date. I'm going to give it 3 months. I'm going to give it 6 months. I'm going to give it a year while I do other things to fuel me back up. I think when you're so burnt out, it's hard to even like think about how long it's been, because it kind of just accumulates over time, right? But we're trying to interrupt these patterns right now. We're trying to stop it right now before our brain just kind of goes into that rabbit hole. And as I was saying, like accepts it as reality of like, oh yeah, well, I'm just burnt out. Like, no, when is it going to be time for you to make a change and to turn a new leaf? Obviously, like you only know the answer for that for yourself, but can I hear either like a voice or in the chat is there something calling to you that enough is enough and I'm ready to make a difference? Yeah, and COVID did not help with burnout. Definitely not. Did COVID spark any reflection for you, right? Maybe you lost your job, or maybe just things changed at your job, or school was postponed or something. Like, what was it about the pandemic that contributed to your burnout and maybe made you more reflective? Cynthia, I am ready to make steps towards change. Yes. And maybe, like, just watching this, literally watching this video is the first step. It is 1% of, let me start journaling. Let me start thinking, like, yeah, okay. Like, this is the 1% we're talking about right now. COVID helped me slow down and reflect. It helped me redirect my values. Boom. Yes, Brittany. COVID helped me realize the things I needed for myself at work. And maybe pointed out the things I hadn't been getting done or getting before. My health is suffering from the stress, not eating well, not working out, not sleeping, having no time to myself. I'm ready. Yeah, you can't go on. I'm ready to change. When are you going to invest in yourself, y'all? By being members of the self-care space, like, how beautiful to have this community to share all of this and speak to these other women that are going through this. You are all growing towards this path that enough is enough, right? There's so many classes, events, people, advisory board members on this platform itself, right? COVID helped me realize how much time I really do have outside of work and how little I utilize it for good. Yep. Okay. Thank you for all your comments. This is beautiful. I'm going to move on a little bit. So I actually created a burnout handbook that I will drop. I will leave a post after this workshop so that you all have access. I will also at the end put a little PDF in the chat. I keep saying comments in the chat as well. But I just kind of wanted to go over first so that we can move on, just the signs of burnout, because maybe you're still struggling with, like, well, I think this is burnout, but I'm not really sure. Like, maybe this just is who I am. Like, maybe this is just my personality. So the top 5 that I have gathered through not only my experience, but I interviewed hundreds of other people, and these are the top common things, is number 1, you're dreading going to your job, right? There's a feedback in here about putting your snooze button. There's also just like feeling really anxious about going into work or going to class. And you're fantasizing, really, or creating excuses of, I'd rather be doing anything else than to be here right now. So you also just, you don't want to be there. You're dreading it so much, right? How do you assess for you that level of dread? And what does dread look like for you? If you could journal in terms of dreading, if that's something you resonate with, what are the actual behaviors and thought patterns I have about dreading going to work? The second sign is you stop caring about the tasks and responsibilities. You just completely stop. Maybe at one point you were so excited about class, or this was like really exciting material, or you were hired at the job and like, this is a dream come true, right? But as time went on and as shit happened in your life or the company or whatever, you're just lacking motivation. Your inspiration and creativity is kind of like gone out the window, right? That's burnout. You like, you're looking for excuses, you're falling behind, and you're avoiding your tasks and responsibilities. I definitely did that. That was one for me at my job is I literally just, I didn't do it. And I said, sometimes I said I did, sometimes I lied, but to be honest, I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. And and like my other colleagues were the same. Like we kind of just skirted over. Terrible professionalism. Like that's awful now that I'm like judging myself, but that's what it is. Just total avoidance. Number 3 is your energy is drained. As I was mentioning earlier about the description of burnout, you just genuinely on a scale from 1 to 10, like if you were just to rate your energy, right? Is it a 2 out of 10? Is it like just lifting your arm up to do the remote control? Like, is that a lot for you? It happens. And you're just like even the first 2 hours of you at your job, like, what is this comment? Lethargy. Yep. Is definitely an issue. Yep. You're just so like, so exhausted that it feels like someone just like sucked your whole soul. That's very, very relatable. Number 4 sign of burnout is your attitude or your character has changed, right? So I think of this as like you are viewing your job through like a tinted lens. So everything about it, or your school, I'm sorry, is everything about it is negative, right? Like you can easily complain. Is that one of yours where you just show up to work and you immediately have a negative thing to say? Like, oh, I can't even think of an example, but just you show up to your class or you show up to your job and immediately those glasses are on, and like no matter what, it doesn't matter. Like that's just, but that's not who you are. Like something is different, right? Maybe you're less empathetic. Maybe you're shutting down. Maybe you're engaging and gossiping, and that never used to happen, right? Or you're just contributing to negative morale within the company, right? That's all burnout too. We're trying to seek this validation, right? Like, ooh, maybe maybe if I gossip a little bit or complain, I can have some kind of community, right? I used to never complain, and now it's all I do every day at work. Yes, absolutely. And the last sign, right? Number 5, you're normalizing your burnout. So kind of what I was saying earlier, we're downplaying our emotions of being stuck is completely normal. Not necessarily. There's a lot of people who find fulfillment in their job. And maybe people that are fulfilled, they need to just be in the spotlight a little bit more to give us some hope, right? Because since it's been so normal of like, my job sucks, where are the people that love their job? Where are the people that really are excited? We need more of that as role models, right? And that's what I'm here to tell you today. There are people who are fulfilled. And maybe that was your parents. Maybe that's a friend that you have. Can you write in your journal, who in my life enjoys what they do, either professionally or, if you're in class, like who enjoyed school? There are people out there though, there really are. But I think when you talk to them, and if you like interview them, if you will, that will give you some inspiration too. So we've been talking about the symptoms, right? We've been talking about all of the really, really painful things that we're experiencing. So I want you to write down, what do you want to feel? If you have all of this of like, this sucks, I hate this, well, what do you want instead? If you write, I want to be happy, or I want to feel fulfilled, I want peace, I want you to hone in on the feeling of what you want. Balance, love it. Keep them coming, people. I want to feel alive, not like I'm going through the motions. hopeful. I want to feel proud of my work, peace, fulfilled, centered. Oof. Yes. And there's so many different ways to go, right? There's so many strategies you could do, but it's really based on your priorities. Is being proud, fulfilled, centered, whatever those emotions, is that a priority for you? I'm sure you're like, yeah, Paige, duh, I wouldn't have wrote that if it wasn't. But is there a part of you that is not allowing that to come true? What is holding you back here? If you have on paper, these are the things that aren't working, this is what I want, what do you think the gap is? If you were to look inward, not just blame, oh yeah, because my job sucks, this is why I'm unhappy. What else is going on? So I want to challenge you on that a little bit. There is a gap. And I'm wondering what is in your path that you are doing or not doing, or thinking or not thinking. There's the block for you, right? Feeling fulfilled and alive. I want to feel excited for the next day. Yes. I also want you to journal your top 3 values. And if you have any questions on this, happy to answer them. Happy to go over value work with you. But basically, just like I want to feel fulfilled, I want to feel calm, I want to feel XYZ, also where your values come in. Because if you're not doing something that's a little bit towards that, then it's just going to get easier to pull back and go back to the burnout, because it's like our safety net, even though it's not benefiting us at all, right? So focusing on, how do I want to feel? What are my top values that I can move toward every single day? If family is a top value, and say you have like a really shitty job right now, are you prioritizing family? How can you just a 1% change do or say something towards your value of family? So let's see. Let me just read a couple more. I struggle to set boundaries and overcommitting because I don't want to disappoint people. Feel like I'm not doing enough. Yep. I feel like I've been this way for so long. I'm afraid of being out of my comfort zone. Yeah. Comfort zone is a huge piece, because our burnout, as we've normalized it, it's just become what it is. So now we're stretching, we're thinking differently. What else can I do? So before I just make it rain on some like strategies, write in your journal what has already worked for you in the past. What have you already done? We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Maybe there is something that is constant, that yes, when I do this, I automatically feel in a better space. Yeah, I'm burnt out, still have the shitty job, or school is still stressful, but you know what? I can always go back to this. Write in the chat, what are some really great coping skills? Is it journaling? Is it yoga? Is it listening to a 5-minute meditation? Is it taking a bath? Is it having happy hour with your friends? Let's write some things. Going to the gym or my yoga class. Yes. We want to go back to feeling good, right? Because when you're feeling good, the more motivated you are and in a very clear, centered space to take the next action to overcome that burnout. And we're just doing 1%, right? What is one tiny thing today that I could do differently to change it up? Kickboxing helps me punch out my stress, right? Love that. Maybe your boss's head is on the bag or something, or your teacher. That's mean. Just kidding. I honestly don't feel like anything works. I can't find passions. Fair. Totally fair. Would, and it doesn't have to be about passions either. It could just be, what is something that grounds you? What is something that makes you feel centered? And that's literally could just be like breathing for 5 minutes straight. Gym. Solo dates. Yeah. Spending time with my cats. Yes. Perfect. I hope this was helpful. Just reading other people's traits too, coping skills, because maybe that'll inspire you to find something else. Solo dates are the best. Don't have to talk to anyone. Perfect. Okay. So you know yourself better than anyone. I just want to recap here. You are the only one that knows what are your symptoms and what are the things that make you feel better. Even if it's for 5 minutes, what are the things that you shift, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Write out, are there top 3 things that I know for sure will change my mood, right? And if not, shoot a message in the self-care space dashboard thing and say, hey, looking for coping skills. Hey, does anyone relate with this? Like, use this space, right? So when you're maybe approaching like the end of the day on a Friday, right? A skill that an example you could use for a coping skill is just writing out your to-do list, but in order of a priority, right? Sometimes when we're burnt out or overwhelmed, there's so many things that we need to do. We think we need to do. Well, can you just jot down, what are just the 3 things I need to do before Monday? And even if you don't do them, you at least have them right there. And that's setting you up in that correct like mental space of, well, at least this is just the priorities I set, not the list of like 70 things I need to do. This is the priorities of what I feel I need to get done. Maybe it's do the laundry. Maybe it's wash the dishes, whatever, go see my friends, like base it on your priority. So the top 5 things to recover that I've experienced personally, I've asked other people, be curious, right? Reflect your burnout. That's what we've been doing this whole time. How am I showing up? What do I wish was different? What about this job is unsatisfactory? What am I looking for that I wish was different? I want you to take some time to think about, if my job was different, this is how I would show up. This is my perfect day, right? I'd wake up, the birds are chirping, I have energy to work out, I meal prep, whatever it is for you. Write out what you want. Be really curious, explore. Sky's the limit. The second thing is create boundaries for yourself. Boundaries can be overt or covert, right? It's letting people know what's acceptable and what's not while keeping to your own word. So a boundary, if you're working from home, for example, is when the clock's up, when it's time to log out or whatever, close your laptop and put a plant on top of it. That symbolizes we're done, right? If you drive to work, for me, I had a lanyard at my job and I like physically removed it as I was driving home, right? Something symbolic to separate, like it is, we're creating this clarity space. Taking a shower, right? Even if you don't go anywhere, even if you don't commute to work, like take a shower, rinse off that shit. I work from home, still haven't been able to create a home balance. I'll put my laptop on my couch so I don't even see it when I'm clocked out. Perfect. Number 3, surround yourself with people who support you. So it's so important to be heard and validated from friends, family members, members of the self-care space, coworkers, and mentors, right? Maybe other people can offer you a different perspective that you haven't seen, right? Being vulnerable with them, being vulnerable with people who you can trust Can you journal 3 people, whether it's a friend, family, coworker, that you feel like you are heard and validated? Who are those people in your life? Can they show up for you? And can they offer some feedback to change up what's going on for you? They know you better than I do. So maybe they can offer some insight. But caveat, you have to be open and willing to listen. You have to give them permission to give you feedback, right? So making sure you are open to hearing it. 4, change your mentality. So what you focus on, you create more of, right? If I'm constantly focused on burnout, well, the universe, whoever, if you believe in manifestation, that shit's going to attract you, right? So that's why I say, what are the coping skills that make you immediately shift your mood, right? Is there a mantra that you could recite? Like, and it doesn't have to be like this 180, like, oh, I love my job. No, it's, this is not my ideal job, but it's paying off my school loans. And I know this will not be forever. That could be a mantra. That could be something that you have on a sticky note and you put that on top of your laptop. This is not forever. Or I'm a badass, right? Having something visible as a mantra. So if you want to journal, what could be an affirmation that is neutral and just factual, right? Like 3 more semesters and I can't wait to graduate, right? Something to look forward to and something visible. We can't just like, you can write it in your phone in the notes section if you want, but sometimes that's like, you're never going to see it again. 5, last coping skill thing to think about. Do something for yourself. So maybe you've been putting off something. And this goes back to self-care, right? We were talking about yoga, gym, hanging with friends, right? Like taking a bath. Those are already like rituals and practices. But I'm talking about do something for yourself that you have been putting off. Maybe there is a spa day that or maybe you have like a spa gift certificate that you haven't used forever because you keep putting yourself on the back burner, or maybe taking a trip. I know with the pandemic and everything, that totally, it's kind of a shitty example, but what is something you've been putting off that's for yourself? Maybe you've always wanted to take a karate class. Well, now's the time to do it because that is something for you only. And it's not to get better at something or achieve or whatever. This is just for you to feel good. And the more you're doing that, your burnout can suck it. So I know that was a lot of information and we're short on time. So I want to open it up with questions. This could be literally anything. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this pattern that I mentioned in the chat that I burn out like every 3 to 4 years with whatever job I'm in. And my fiance tells me all the time, he goes, I wonder what your next thing is going to be for the next 3 years and what you're going to burn out and then try to do again. So I wonder if like anybody else has like that same issue, or if you have ever experienced that yourself, or like what you would kind of have like advice on about something like that.
Someone just said yes, yearly. I'm going to leave it open to the group first before I contribute. Any feedback for Gloria?
I'll
go ahead.
speak up because typing it is taking too long, but I feel the same way, and it's almost like I get bored because I feel like, okay, I did this and now I understand how to do it and I want to do something else now. For me, it's almost like I want to learn new things kind of thing.
I love that, Sabrina, because it reminds me that maybe every 3 years for you, Gloria, that just means you're shifting and you're evolving and you're growing into the next version of yourself. So it totally makes sense that every 3 years, like, let's change it up. I'm getting bored, like Sabrina says. What else would the comment say? Leah resonates with that too. Anyone else? Feedback for Gloria or Me Too's? So, Gloria, what would you like your relationship to be with burnout? If burnout was a person, how do you want to talk to it? How do you want it to be incorporated in your life?
Good question. It's a great question. I'm not quite sure. I think I just want I think something I have learned actually about myself in the pattern of every 3 to 4 years is that I think I have a problem taking orders from other people, which is really out of character from who I used to be. But as you said, as I've grown, I kind of want to be like essentially my own boss one day is what I aspire. And I think now that I've like been able to like figure out that as a trigger, that has helped me like feel a little bit better lately. That is gearing me towards like, okay, maybe I just don't do well working under someone else because I feel like everybody else around me is an idiot. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just do it. I can do this better. Like,
yes. So if there's parts of you that know what is contributing to my burnout, stupid people, or, you know, whatever is contributing to the burnout, see how you can just like put that on paper, have it really visual. What could I cross off? What could I rearrange? Like, how can I be creative here? Right? If you want to be your own boss, that may solve some of those answers. It may create new burnout for you, but it's a part of the journey. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I didn't think about writing it and mapping that out. That's smart. So thank you.
No problem. Other questions? I also just dropped in the chat the Burnout Handbook that you can download. It's a PDF. Any other questions? I'm going to stay like 5-10 minutes after too, but I know for those that have to leave promptly at 6.
Like I struggle with is if I'm feeling burned out where I am to the point where I want to leave, it's like, or even not even do the job I'm doing anymore, it's hard for me to envision what I would be doing instead, like literally just to survive and make money. I like that. I get hung up on that thought process.
Sorry, you cut up a little bit. So you get stuck on what?
Like trying to think about or figure out or envision what I would be doing instead to literally like survive and make money.
So are you prioritizing? I'm not saying like, yes, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to pay bills. Yes. But what are the other priorities for yourself? Like, what is more that self-actualization wants and desires for you? I wonder if you can just like work backwards. So instead of just focusing on money and making sure this, like, is there something you want to feel instead and reverse engineer it? How can a job reach me towards that? Questions, comments, reflections. You're nodding, which is good.
Yeah, no, that helps. Thinking about it like that, because like one thing that's really important that I've been thinking about this whole time is like my personal time, but also my independence and my ability to take that personal time. So I think that's one thing I need to increase no matter what.
Yeah, if your values is like being independent, or in, you know, whatever your other core values are, if we can put that first and then I guess like find a job or create a job that is in alignment with that. And yeah, just like doing the next thing that feels good. Sometimes we're able to kind of think a little bit more clearly, right? When we're kind of more in a grounded space and having that belief that everything will work out, when you get to that space, I think more answers are going to open up for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. What other questions, Q&As, y'all? You can write in the comment or chat. See, I keep saying comments. You can write in the chat. You can go off speaker. Write in the comment chat. Write in the chat a takeaway, right? What was something you are walking away with from this workshop? It could be a thought. It could be a to-do list. I don't care. What's a takeaway? It could be, I feel supported by other women, right? It could be anything. I want to hear some feedback. Affirmations really make a difference. I feel very validated after this. Yes. You're not alone, y'all. We're all just trying to navigate through it. Making sure to take at least 30 minutes to myself each day to recharge my soul and do something just for me. Yes. I've already set the ball in motion, starting a new job this week. Yes, that I love. So it was a wonderful reminder to know what I don't have to feel the way I did at my other job. Yeah. It's in the past, yo. Beautiful. Well, let's see, last one. This was my first meeting on the app, and it's the first real step I've taken for myself. Yes. I can't snaps. Thinking about my next steps. Congrats on starting something new. Yes. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone so much. You have no idea. I really appreciate this. I appreciate the feedback, the constant engagement and participation has been really, really beautiful. If you are interested, I am one of the very few advisory members that offers one-on-one coaching. I will leave again the let's see, in the chat, I will leave the link if you want to sign up, but otherwise it's on my self-care space platform. If you wanted an individual session with me, that way we can explore either your burnout or your career. That's exactly what I focus on, is helping you find that next dream and kind of map out your life. So if you're interested in a session, feel free to go to my self-care page and book through there. Also, find me on Instagram too. I post daily videos all about these things. So I would love to see your faces. Send me a DM, say, hey, what's up? I just attended your workshop. I'm really easy to follow. All my handles are at paigemitchell.coach. So Instagram, paigemitchell.coach. I think that's right. Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you all so much. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, I'm here for you, right? I'm supporting you. So have a good rest of your evening, day, wherever you live. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Paige. We're so happy to have you as part of the self-care space, and we can't wait to see all of you guys at another event soon.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody.